Joining us now to discuss this program and how to get involved is Susan Bailey, who is an Airbnb host herself and also a member of the Airbnb Host Advisory Board. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us more about this massive initiative that Airbnb is undertaking.
Yes, thank you, Asia. I'm delighted to tell you about it. This is not new to Airbnb. Airbnb has been hosting individuals and families in crisis for 10 years. And when there's a crisis like this one, Airbnb really steps up. So this example, as you said, Airbnb will be hosting 20,000 refugees from Afghanistan. We're expecting about 50,000 streaming into the US and around the world over the next few weeks and months. So this is about providing temporary housing to people in need, people who are coming from a war-torn environment and have such need for safety, security, and comfort. And the process is really very easy to get involved.
Yes, tell us more about that from the perspective of being a host yourself. We understand you've hosted 7 refugee families since 2016. Can you talk about that experience?
Yes, I would tell you that if I had to put it in a single word, it is the most impactful experience that my husband and I have had in serving others. It is something you can't imagine to provide that warmth and care and community that is so desperately needed to somebody arriving maybe with a single suitcase. And it's quite easy to do. If you're a host, you simply sign up and provide the space that you have already offered as a listing on Airbnb. If you've never hosted, you can become a person to provide emergency housing for a few days, for a week, for whatever period of time you choose. There's no prescribed limits, if you will. You simply go to airbnb.org/refugees and sign up. It's a very easy process. And for people who don't have housing to provide, you can also donate, which will allow Airbnb and hosts around the world to serve more refugees. The need is even greater than this amazing start with serving 20,000.
Absolutely. And we know this need is so great, especially during this time. Do you have a message for families or individuals who have Airbnb homes who may be kind of on the fence and don't know whether or not this opportunity is the initiative that they'd like to participate in as far as hosting goes?
Yeah, I think that's an unbelievably great question. My message is very simple. If you have housing and you're serving people who come to visit your city or your state, there is no one who has a greater need than a refugee. They are going to make a life in this country, and you are providing the first steps to their ability to embrace that and to build a future, to get a job, to be engaged in education, all the things that start off someone in life. In my view, there's nothing more impactful. The other thing is for people who may have a concern about COVID-19 or vetting people in terms of their health history. That's done exceptionally well through the World Health Organization and the resettlement organizations that are serving refugees. So you can read more about it on airbnb.org/refugees to gain a level of comfort, to step up and decide to do it. We did, and nothing could have changed our lives in a more material way than serving refugees.
I love this story so much, and I'm wondering if you can also share just more about the connection that you've made to some of the families that you've hosted. Were there any challenges in terms of communication? Because I think a lot of times people want to help, they want to open up their homes, but maybe they're uncomfortable with the aspect of being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is an outstanding way to say it. I would say yes. We have served an amazing family from the Republic of Congo. It was a total of 7, a husband and a wife, 3 children, and then nephews, because the nephews, had lost their parents previously. When they arrived at our home, they spoke Swahili and French, and my husband and I took high school French. So our very ineffectual use of vocabulary got us by. And that friendship is a blossoming one. The 2 oldest daughters are in local community college, and they're both working and they're building their lives. And their English is outstanding now. So I think every family has a different need, and being a host and respecting the need for some families and individuals to have privacy and just be together, and other families who have a desperate need to reach out to you and to understand our culture and to want to become part of it. So I think it's a continuum. And as a host, having that gift of discernment and looking at a family, whether you speak the same language, whether you come from a different culture or religion, we're all human beings. And it is the greatest gift of humanity to welcome someone who has such a need to feel comfortable in a new place.
It really is, and I commend you for doing this work. Before we let you go, we have to talk about the fact that this is a temporary program. In your experience working with other families, when this ends, where do you think these families will go, particularly these Afghan refugees?
So, what is amazing is we've had the opportunity to watch that unfold over the last 5 years. So, typically, when a refugee arrives in a given city or state, for the most part, they make that their home. So, with the help of the resettlement agency, whether it's the IRC or a religious organization, they get jobs. If they have children, they enroll them in school. They find permanent housing. And there's an amazing number of landlords around the country that will provide housing at a much lower cost while they build their careers again. And obviously, that's an effort in our country because even if you were a nurse in Afghanistan, the requirements are different in the US. But over the course of 3 to 5 years, they're on their way. They're building amazing lives. They're becoming part of the local community, and they're fabulous, responsible citizens. So I guess I would say we could not have had a better experience, and we may be a little unusual in that we've developed friendships with virtually every family that has come and stayed with us.
I don't think it's unusual. I think that's really a beautiful thing. And again, thank you for joining us here on Cheddar to share your experience hosting refugees. That's Susan Bailey, member of the Airbnb Host Advisory Board and host herself.